Hi everyone! So in celebration of our February Hidden Worlds box, we wanted to do some book recommendations for you. Now these books all start out taking place in our own world, but then the characters in them kind of stumble across another fantasy realm. So without further ado, let's get into the books.
So first up, I wanted to talk about one of my all-time favorite series, which is the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. The first book in the series is called The Darker Shade of Magic. I'm sure you've heard about this book, but if you haven't, I can't resist talking about it. It is a fantasy story in which there are multiple versions of London, and we have a magician named Kel who has the ability to travel between these parallel universes. Kel works as a messenger for the crown, and so his job is to kind of go between the different kingdoms and deliver messages, but he also kind of smuggles some artifacts on the side, and that's kind of where the story takes off. And I don't want to say more than that, but just know that this is such an accessible fantasy series and I can't recommend it enough.
So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Magicians by Lev Grossman. Now I know I have talked about this book on this channel before, but I just feel like it fits in so many different genres. So in this book we follow a man named Quentin Coldwater who, after high school, instead of getting accepted to Yale, finds out he has been accepted into a magical college. And through this college he also finds out that his favorite fictional world from when he was a child, called Fillory, actually exists. So through quite a bit of debauchery and strange magic, Quentin and his friends find their way into this magical place called Fillory. Fillory really feels like Narnia, but a lot more dark. This book is quite divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's definitely an adult novel. There is quite some more risque material in here, but I just love this world and I think it's worth a shot.
And another book about London is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, and this is the story of a man named Richard who runs into a girl named Dor who's on the run from assassins, and she comes from London Below, which is essentially a hidden world right below the city streets of London, and it's a dark world and it's quite scary at times, but this is such a fun adventure that I can't recommend enough.
Next up I have A Book of Spirits and Thieves by Morgan Rhodes, and this book actually takes place in the same universe as her very popular Fallen Kingdoms series. You do not have to have read Fallen Kingdoms to have read this book though, and I actually like this one more. This book starts off taking place in a current day Toronto, and through some kind of secret societies and magic, some of the characters find themselves in Morgan Rhodes' world of Mythica. It is super fast-paced, there's tons of morally gray characters, and I just love this story and I cannot wait to continue on.
So Neil Gaiman has quite a few books that kind of fit this theme and he's just awesome. So another one I would recommend is Coraline. This is the story about a girl named Coraline who's just moved to a new house, and she often feels ignored by her parents and alone, and one day she stumbles upon a hidden door in the house that leads her to an alternate version of the world she knows. And in this world, her parents love and adore her and everything seems better than the world that she comes from, but there's something sinister as well. And this book is meant for children, but it is actually quite scary, so if you're looking for something that's a little bit thrilling but won't scare the pants right off of you, I think this would be a good one.
Next up I have the Amulet graphic novel series by Kazu Kibuishi. I absolutely love this middle grade graphic novel series. It's probably one of my favorite of all time. So in this story we follow siblings Emily and Navin as after their mother mysteriously gets kidnapped from their grandpa's old house, and they kind of follow her into this parallel magical world where everything's definitely not what it seems. There are so many awesome characters in here. There are talking robots and, talking animals, and it's just such a cool quest, and it's such a fun middle grade story, and the artwork is absolutely beautiful. This is definitely one that kind of swept me off my feet as soon as I started reading it, and I could not wait to get my hands on more, and it's such a cool world and I definitely recommend it.
So another really fun book is Wildwood by Colin Meloy. This is a middle grade series and it takes place in Portland, and there's a wood that the locals see on a map called the Impenetrable Wilderness, but no one has ever gone in or returned to tell the tale if they have. And our story takes place when our main character Prue has her little brother stolen and taken into the wilderness. Her and her friend Curtis decide to go in search of him, and they discover that this wilderness is known as Wildwood, and it features a lot of like talking animals and politics and all sorts of different things that are going on in this fantasy land. I think the story is really good at mixing the different magical elements as well as the urban city life, and it has tons of awesome illustrations as well. So if you're looking for something to kind of whisk you away, I think this would be a good one.
Next I have Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. Now this book is definitely super popular here on BookTube, and with good reason. This book takes place in Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children, which is a home in which children who have previously lived in these other like portal fantasy realms have returned to our world and just don't know how to cope with not being with the magic anymore. Children are often sent to Eleanor West School by parents who just don't believe that they were ever in this parallel world or a different realm and don't really know how to cope with this child. So this book is definitely super dark at times. It's also super diverse. There's kind of a murder mystery thing going on in here, and I just absolutely love this world, and this novella just packs a punch, and I totally recommend it.
Another book that I wanted to talk about is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This is an awesome YA fantasy novel about a girl named Kazu who is an art student in Prague, and I just think the depictions of Prague are absolutely amazing. I had never read a book set there, and it's just beautiful. Kazu also works for a creature named Brimstone. She collects teeth for him, and she's not sure why he needs these teeth, but you do find that out later on. But Brimstone kind of acts as a in-between between our world and a fantasy world, filled with all sorts of interesting creatures. I don't want to give too much away, but this book really surprised me, and it's absolutely beautifully written. Laini Taylor is such a talented writer, so if you haven't picked this one up yet, you definitely should.
The last book I'm going to talk about is Beyonders: A World Without Heroes by Brandon Mull. Now, Brandon Mull is most famous for writing the Fablehaven series, but I actually prefer this one. So in this world, we follow a boy named Jason who, after an accident, finds himself transported into a world called Lyrian. Now, this world is called A World Without Heroes as it's kind of ruled by this regime and nobody's trying to save it. At the beginning of his adventure, Jason runs into a girl named Rachel who is also from our world, and in an effort to find their way home, they kind of go on a quest that ends up trying to save this new world. It's full of really great characters, a super fast storyline. This is a middle grade book, so it's super easy to fly through, and I just love the whole trilogy, so you should definitely check it out.
So those were just a few of the books that we really enjoy that kind of feature hidden fantastical worlds. If there's any books that you would recommend to us that kind of fit within that theme, we'd love to hear about them because they're super fun to read about.
As per usual, please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to our channel. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome. Bye!